All right, welcome to the 83rd episode of the Revolutionary Code, where we bring the truth about how governmental politics actually works in every facet of human existence and how that affects our people, Black people here in America, Africa, and the diaspora. I am your host, Brother Tamani Mwandani, out of Houston, Texas. I am the direct revolutionary product of the Shrines of the Black Madonna's efforts to build a nation within this nation since 1953. I am also the founder of the Black Gold Nation. My co-host, the chief consultant of the Black Gold Nation's National Political Strategy and Implementation Department, as well as our Adult Education Division, and also the chairman of LACE, Liberation Advocates for Community Empowerment, the intellectual gangster, corporate grassroots revolutionary, and master domino assassin from Shreveport, Louisiana, aka The Boot, Brother Craig B. Lee. Brother Craig, how you doing this evening?
I am doing absolutely irie. Just cleaned up my Toyota Camry and gave it to my mom as we prepare to give out our first car for our dad's on duty car competition. So she is happy and I'm happy.
Amen. Amen. So before we get into it, as a reminder, we're not here to just try and inform and educate. Of course, that's important as well, but we want to inform and educate and try and activate some minds to get busy and do some work. So everything we say and everything we do is about bringing our people together to find the right people so we can build something that matters, something that has power, something that's going to not only protect us and our children, but put us in the position to not always be at the whim of what other people want to do to us, or how they want to maneuver and manipulate around us, or manipulate our minds to do what they deem best for their power and their control. So the title of tonight's show is The Reality of the Melanated Negro Savage and the Only Solution to Eliminate Their Behavior. The Reality of the Melanated Negro Savage and the Only Solution to Eliminate Their Behavior. Before we get into a video, an article that Brother Craig sent me, we're going to watch that briefly. I want to say happy birthday to Brother Malcolm X, El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, as today is his birthday. We never, ever want to forget a warrior that was spent some time with us on earth and did some things to most certainly move the Black needle forward as much as he was ready, willing, and able to do per his understanding of the times and what we were dealing with. So the reality of the melanated Negro savage and the only solution to eliminate their behavior. So I'm going to share this video that Brother Craig, he sent me an article, and in the article was a video, as I often say he does every day. He is sharing something with me, and I'm sure other people as well. So give me a quick second to share my screen, and we will watch this brief video clip, and then we'll get into the conversation.
Atlanta entrepreneur and businessman targeted in a robbery. We told you about the shooting Monday in front of a high-rise at Juniper and 7th in Midtown Atlanta. Well, tonight, Atlanta police need help in finding the killers. And Channel 2's Ashley Lincoln spoke exclusively with the victim's family. Ashley, they're demanding answers. They want to know why he was targeted.
That's the big question tonight, Linda, is why. The family, they want the public to take a good look at this image that Atlanta police released today of the suspect's vehicle. In the meantime, we're talking about a community that is hurting right now. The family says they do not know who would want to harm Desmond. In the meantime, people have been stopping and taking a moment of silence in front of this club on Crescent Avenue where a vigil was held in his honor.
It is the worst nightmare.
He was a son.
I had the best son.
A husband.
Sunday would have been 6 months for us. We had plans that I've had to cancel.
An entrepreneur who was the life of the party. He even co-created the viral clothing brand Been Broke Before that promoted financial literacy.
Not just me, they've hurt an entire city. Like, this city has not rested since this happened.
But Desmond Key's life was cut short Monday morning after he was leaving an associate's apartment building in Midtown on Juniper Street. Monday night,
The last text message I got on my phone where he told me he was on the way home.
His wife and mother speaking exclusively with Channel 2 Action News.
You took a part of me.
Atlanta police confirming with Channel 2 the Morehouse grad was intentionally targeted by robbery suspects as he exited this apartment building.
It appears that Mr. Key was targeted as a relationship to this robbery.
This is surveillance video of the vehicle driven by the suspects. A dark gray four-door sedan. Key's family is offering a $30,000 reward for any tips that lead to an arrest. While they hope justice comes soon, Key's family says the loss of his life still leaves them in shock.
I'm gonna make sure that nobody forgets about this.
And to add, he leaves behind 2 little boys. We did find out that Desmond Key was just 35 years old. Just a sad and heartbreaking story right here. The family, they want to get out that there is a $35,000 Crime Stoppers reward for any tips that lead to an arrest in this case. We'll have that information on our website at WSBTV.com. For now, reporting live in Midtown, Ashley Lincoln, Channel 2 Action News.
All right, so that was the article. Well, the news clip. The article was below that Brother Craig sent me. And before we get into it, we most certainly want to state that our hearts, prayers, and positive energy goes out to the family of Brother Desmond King. Young brother apparently doing a lot of positive things in a good way. And of course, he was obviously murdered for reasons I can only assume it has something to do with money if it was a robbery, but you know, I'm sure that will come out eventually. Okay, Brother Craig, first question. The title of tonight's show is The Reality of the Melanated Negro Savage and the Only Solution to Eliminate Their Behavior. For those persons who may have never heard us use that term before, what is a melanated Negro savage?
A melanated Negro savage is the lowest form of African descendant in this world. He or she possesses high degree of melanin that makes them appear to be identical to Black people. However, we use the term melanin or melanated because Black and Negro are not reflective of pigmentation, but the state of mind. Black being the state of mind of African descendants who are about the business of liberating, empowering, and advancing African descendants, and Negro being those African descendants who are about the business of oppressing, blocking, hating, destroying African descendants for the perpetuation of white supremacy in the capitalist system. And so the melanin is the outward aesthetic image that people see. And then savage is the conduct of this entity who is referred to also as Negro. And the Negro, as I just described, is an entity who is a mentally enslaved, I guess you could say, asset of the architects, engineers, and managers of the philosophy system and game of capitalistic white supremacy. So that those entities are the lowest form of African descendants because they move strictly based on irrational emotionalism and also appetite for money, status, materialism, and they have little to no regard for anyone else's life, children's lives, their community, and they just operate in a straight up savage way.
You said, which is a perfect segue to this next question. You said that they are an asset to the architects, engineers, and managers of the philosophy, the system, and the game of capitalist rights and racism. which is a perfect segue to the next question, because the next question is, how has the melanated Negro savage been created? Is this a result of the nigger factory?
I mean, without a doubt. You know, the time that our ancestors spent in captivity, physical, mental captivity in America, created a psychosis, if you will, a pathology of viewing white folks in every facet of the realm of life as the standard for all things, beauty, intellect, anything that became the standard. And our oppressors used the largest percentage of our people against each other on a daily basis. So this was created during chattel slavery. And, for that period of time from 1866, February 1865 until 1964, when the second Civil Rights Act was passed. For that brief period of time, that 99 years, we began to maneuver and do things that began the process of a mental detoxification. But of course, it did not continue because Martin Luther King and his crew fought to establish integration. And from, you basically say 1972, 74, up until now, you see the devastating impacts. So the 99 years that our people spent on the first part of that, building Black townships, creating Black businesses, doing major things during Jim Crow segregation, all of that was damn near wiped out overnight. Once pseudo integration kicked in, and we are in that period right now, because from 64 to now, you only talked about 58 years. You see, so you just do the math. We only spent 99 years in a state of Jim Crow segregation, and Black folks started creating Black townships, bus companies, all kinds of things. And now in pseudo integration, it's like you're contending with 5. Initially we said 4, but now we're talking about 5 different factions of Negroes who work for the betterment of the architects, engineers, and managers of white supremacy. So yeah, they're asset. They are descendants of entities who came out of chattel slavery, who obviously lack spirituality and organic right culture, and it's just been a perpetuation ever since pseudo integration has kicked in.
It would be very, 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 very interesting to learn about the pushback, because it had to exist, of Black business owners saying to Martin Luther King that what you're doing, I understand it and I get it, but you're going to destroy our way of life. Are you aware of anyone during that time making that kind of argument to the good Reverend Doctor?
I'm not aware of it, and I don't know if our people really understood what would happen, because remember, A.G. Gaston was one of the main benefactors, right? And so I think A.G. Gaston was so entrenched, I think they really believed that the economic gains would continue and expand if Negroes, got this illusion of equality. And so I don't know if they really understood the true economic dynamics of what's the positive, the pros of segregation. I think they looked at so many of the cons that they didn't evaluate any of the pros.
Yeah. Okay.
We know the king did not. We know that he did not. We know that his team did not. We know that they did not understand. Because if they understood, I mean, they would have advocated for equity and justice and not pseudo integration.
Right. Okay. That was a sidebar question that came to mind. Okay. Next question. Why is it so important that we recognize the existence? We recognize and accept the existence of the melanated Negro savage. Why is that so important to us? For us?
If Black people, and there are only two factions of Black people, you know, the melanated grassroots Black person and the melanated hybrid Black person. If these two groups don't understand that everybody who is skin folk who look like them do not work on behalf of African descendants for their liberation, empowerment, and advancement, bro, you'll never win. You'll never be able to win this game. You always get infiltrated. Your movement will always get shut down. You will never be able to advance any real agenda.
Yeah.
And it's just, you have to identify your enemy, your immediate threat and your long-term threat. And if you can't do that, you're just going to be going around in a circle. And it's hard for our people to really comprehend that reality. And because we're always believing that you can redeem some of these slave-minded ass Negroes. And if they can be redeemed, they need to show the work first before any type of allowances are granted to them. Because history tells us how this thing is going to play out.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. Some common misconceptions about what would prevent the existence of the melanated Negro savage, MNS, are prayer, more law enforcement, and or more cameras on the streets. So how do we know that none of these individually or as a collective, how do we know none of these things are going to prevent the existence of the melanated Negro savage? How do we know that?
So hey man, history is your best teacher. And I've been doing this work now for well over 30 plus years, 27 in Shreveport this year. And I know in Shreveport for the past 27 years, they've had at least goddamn 500 prayer rallies. They've been had cameras. They have more cameras. They increased law enforcement. They increased incarceration. You know, Louisiana, until over the past 2 years, we went from number 1 in the world as relates to incarceration rates to now number 2.
In the world?
In the goddamn world.
Wow.
And that's because of if you looked at our Tuesday morning breakfast group meeting this past week, we talked about one of the Jim Crow laws that was still on the books, the 10-2 non-unanimous jury verdict that stayed on the books up until 2018, and the voters voted it off the books, and then the case went to the Supreme Court in 2020. But the white folks were using the initially 9-3 non-unanimous jury verdict and the 10-2 non-unanimous jury verdict to send people to prison. Hence why I felt it necessary for us to look at the movie Life a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Because it depicted this in a comedic way, but this is the reality of life in Louisiana. So yeah, Louisiana is the leader in the world. Maybe now we're number 2, but history shows us that prayer, cameras, more police officers is not going to work. And I've been around long enough, and I'm quite sure Naru, yourself, and others have seen these damn prayer rallies. This coming Tuesday, they're gonna be praying again in front of the goddamn city hall, and bringing white preachers out, and this thing is so crazy because it's like, I know prayer works, and although they see that this is a joke, that's all that they, can rely on, because they don't want to have to engage the savage Negro or any other savage like the savage pale skin who came into Buffalo this past Saturday and annihilated our elders in that community. They do not want to have to engage. So they want first the white man to handle all of their business. And of course, they want Jesus and God to do that, which would absolve themselves of having to do any goddamn thing. So history is the best teacher.
Cool. Okay, so you made a statement in your shared post, and the statement was a heavy one. And I want to share with everyone that statement, then I want to unpack it because there's a lot in it. So the first part of the statement says, if the fractured, corrupted, and evil minds of unconscious individuals who lack spirituality and organic right culture, regardless of ethnicity, are not transformed to embrace spirituality and organic right culture, before they fantasize, hallucinate, and romanticize about committing murder, those individuals cannot and will not be stopped from committing murder or any other crime, regardless of the greatness of that city, period. Now, in the time that I have known you, 2.5, 3+ years, I know that you are someone who chooses his words wisely, and you don't use words that you don't fully understand what you're saying with those words. So you use 3 words in particular that I think is very, very, very important that we understand why you use those words and why they fit. So, but 2 of them, fractured, corrupted, and evil minds. We can figure out the evil minds part, but explain to us what you mean by fractured and corrupt, and why do you use these 2 specific words, fractured and corrupt?
So those 2 words are used because when we're talking about cultivating people, this begins in homes, houses, neighborhoods, villages, community. And so we already know that because of chattel slavery in this country, our people are fractured. And so that fracture is the lack of the 6 pillars of empowerment: the spiritual, the cultural, the educational, the economic, the social. So knowing that the majority of our ancestors lacked these 6 pillars, and again, that I used to believe that Jim Crow segregation was the second worst period of our journey in this country, but it's actually the period that we're in now, which is pseudo-integration. And because it gives the mental slave the illusion that they're free, and the individualism pretty much allows them to now go out and believe that they can do anything that they desire to do. So the fracture comes from the foundation that is not there. The corrupted component comes because they've been indoctrinated with the Eurocentric individualism of I, my, me versus the Afrocentric philosophy of us, our, we. So they don't know the difference between individuality and individualism, because individualism is a philosophy that is promoted by the architects, engineers, and managers of the philosophy system and game of capitalist white supremacy to actually undermine societies. And you say, well, why would they want societies undermined? So that they can still always be in control.
That's right.
Because they maintain all of the law enforcement apparatuses in this world, from the local to the state to the federal, i.e. military and whatnot. So they allow these things to continue. They allow savages to have automatic weapons with 200 round drums and whatnot. They allow white savages to tap into these same things. So they're pitting all of these entities against each other, and they're riding off and making things happen because the people are in complete chaos. So that's why I use those two terms there as it relates to talking about and that's regardless of ethnicity, but specifically for our people, because we are the originators of life and the planet Earth. And so, needless to say, if we're out of balance, the entire planet is out of balance.
That's right. That's right. No doubt. Okay, so if you missed the beginning of the show, you're listening to and watching the Revolutionary Code, where we bring the truth about how government and politics actually works in every facet of human existence and how that affects our people, Black people here in America, Africa, and the diaspora. Tonight's show is our 83rd episode, and it's titled The Reality of the Melanated Negro Savage and the Only Solution to Eliminate Their Behavior. My name is Tamani Mwandani. I'm the founder of the Black Gold Nation, and Brother Craig B. Lee is my co-host. He's the chief consultant of our political strategy and implementation department, as well as our adult education division. Next question, Brother Craig. Your quote: "If the fractured, corrupted, and evil minds of unconscious individuals," end quote. What is an unconscious individual?
The entity who lacks direct connection to the Creator, to the ancestors, an entity who lacks understanding of his purpose in life, her purpose in life. They have yet to awake. They have yet to become aware of life, and they're definitely not on the path of why they were even born. And so that puts them in a state of perpetual unconsciousness until they tap in. And unfortunately, the majority of people are going to die in that state, because as Malachi York once said, when the question was asked of him, what was his definition of God? And he said, any entity that has control in your life. And it's a profound statement. And so the white man has control of the Negro life and most individuals' lives in this world. And therefore, that's what it means to be unconscious, not knowing that you're a slave and believing that you're free, not knowing that what you consider to be up is really down, and down is really up, not having discipline, not having commitment and focus, again, not embracing collectivism and just surely rolling with individualism. That is what I would consider to be an unconscious individual.
We talk a lot about the importance of local political mobilization, organization, activity, and control. We talk a lot about how voting for the president is not going to change much on the ground. What matters most is your political activity locally. So with that understanding, is it more important? And this is not one of my questions. It just came to mind as you were speaking. Is it more important that we know about the existence of the architects, engineers, and managers of this system, or is it more important that we understand and know about the 6 factions of African descent?
It's both, but on the immediate side, you got to know about the 6 factions, and really now, like we said, we probably have 7,
yeah.
and really damn near 8, because I was thinking about individuals like Umar Johnson and
The intellectual,
whatnot,
yes, sir.
and the pseudo intellectual Negro romantic revolutionary. They're between the Negro and the Black, but I would have to put them under the category of Negro because they're pretending. So we probably have now like 7, damn near 8 categories. You got to know that first.
Yeah.
Because you can't battle the architects and the engineers, whether they're on the micro level or the macro level, until you deal squarely within the RAM. I remember about 25 years ago, I ran across some material that said before our ancestors in Africa would go to war, they would kill every Negro sellout in the village, kill him, his wife, and the children. If he had a wife and child, they'd kill him. And he's like, damn, that's gangster. That's like hard. Like, why would you do that? And doing this work in Shreveport, bro, I totally understand. I totally understand. And some of the things that I discussed on this program is really not intended for the masses of our people, even our well-intentioned grassroots folks, because some of the stuff that we're going to have to do, most of our people have appetite, stomach for that.
Yeah.
And they don't really understand that the only thing that the majority of people, especially the melanated Negro savage, will adhere to is force.
Yeah.
You know, and without us establishing a righteous force to put these Negroes in check, man, these people are going to keep on hunting well-intentioned, good people down, like this brother Desmond, who was a graduate of Morehouse, wife was a graduate or is a graduate of Spelman, 2 children, business owner. You're doing all of these things, and Negroes still hunt you down and take you out. Right?
Yeah.
And so this will continue. You're not going to escape these Negroes. These Negroes will track you.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't establish a mobilized, organized empowerment, grassroots empowerment militia throughout to deal with them first, because you got to deal with them first.
Sure, because they are where you live.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're in your space.
So both of those entities must be dealt with, and what you'll find, Tamani, as I found in doing the research here in Shreveport, you'll find when you do the research on the melanated Negro savage who's selling the dope and into the illegal activities, you'll find that they are connected to the architects and the engineers at the micro level of the philosophy system and game in the city, because they are used by that apparatus to make money for those entities in the illegal narcotic arena, in the sex trafficking arena, in all of these endeavors. And so they operate in many instances with immunity against the community. They work in some instances for the sheriff, the police department, various judges.
Sure.
And they're able to actually maneuver, and people are like, how they keep on getting out of jail?
Yeah, and that goes back to something you just said, which you say often. History is our best teacher and guide. We know that the American government was most certainly in bed with organized criminals like the mob and whatnot on some very serious levels as relates to running countries like Cuba. So for sure. So getting back to your quote, and us breaking this thing down. A quote, you state, if the fractured, corrupt, and evil minds of unconscious individuals who lack spirituality and organic right culture, regardless of ethnicity, are not transformed to embrace spirituality and organic right culture. So you believe that some of these persons can be transformed, and if so, how?
A very small percentage.
Okay. How would you transform that very small percentage?
Through force. First, we give them an opportunity by showing them the physical reality of the righteous acquisition of money, status, and materialism, because that's what they believe in. But we also already know we got to have our own righteous hitters on deck, ready to take them out.
Yeah.
That's all they only are going to respect money, status, materialism, and force.
So do you see it? I'm sorry.
Now, and I say, so understanding the acquisition of the money, status, and materialism, you got to have the force, because Desmond's case is a prime example.
Yeah.
He was leveraging money, status, and materialism, but he didn't have force.
Yeah.
So they took him out.
Yeah. So do you see it being akin to that scene where Bumpy Johnson's sister brother down in the restaurant?
Sure.
And he gives them the option. you can join me. And it's kind of funny because I'm sure the brother thought he was going to have some time to think about it.
He didn't know you had to make the right decision on that day.
That's right. In that moment.
And he made the wrong decision, and he thought that was a negotiation. That wasn't no negotiation.
Right.
That was you being granted an opportunity to see where you stood.
Yep.
If you stood with a melanated Negro alliance of gangsters, or if you were rolling with the Dagos.
That's right.
And he said he was going to roll with the Dagos, and Bobby say, okay, but you won't be leaving here tonight.
That's right. That's your last roll. Okay, so back to your quote.
And the other scene too, where he had put the alliance together.
Mm-hmm.
And the character that was played by Method Man rolled with the Dagos, even though they was making all of this money.
Yep.
The Negro didn't want to take orders. And what did Bumpy have to do? Take all the ass out.
That's right. That's right. Okay, back to your quote. If the fractured, corrupted, and evil minds of unconscious individuals who lack spirituality and organic right culture, regardless of ethnicity, are not transformed to embrace spirituality and organic right culture before they fantasize, hallucinate, and romanticize about committing murder. End quote. So those three words, again, being someone who chooses words carefully: fantasize, hallucinate, and romanticize. Why these three words, Brother Craig? And what's your supporting argument for using each?
For over 20 years, I say, the slave does not know how to think. She damn sure don't know how to critically think. And I say, but they're doing something that is akin to thinking, but they're not thinking. What are they doing? For 20 years, goddamn. I pondered, and last year, damn it, it hit. What are they doing? They fantasize. They're romanticizing. They're hallucinating. See, the architects and the engineers they occupy the Negro mind. And so they put them into a state of what I call intellectual paralysis. And in that state of intellectual paralysis, they put them under a hypnotic spell with all of the technology, with all of the, all the things that they show them every day. So think about this now. You're under a hypnotic spell, and you're intellectually paralyzed because they control your mind.
Right.
And in many instances, they control your brain functions because they're feeding your brain through the food, through the other toxins, through the drugs, through the alcohol, all these things that you consume. And so now you're in a state of paralysis. Now you're under a hypnotic spell. And now what happened? Now what happened? You believe that you're thinking. You believe you know.
Yeah.
You believe you know how to critically think, but you're not thinking. You're fantasizing. You're romanticizing. You're idealizing. You're hallucinating. You're doing all these things. And so now what ends up happening when somebody like Tamani or Craig tells you, hey, bro, that's not how this works. Now you say, man, what are you talking about? This is real. Because I had to think, like, when Dr. Joy DeGruy talks about cognitive dissonance, okay, I said, but Doc, you're not getting to the point of what causes the cognitive dissonance. Frantz Fanon first stumbled on it is, okay, the person is wrestling with new information coming with their belief system. So they reject it. But why do they reject it? Because their mind is intellectually paralyzed and they don't know how to think. They don't know how to rationalize. Okay, they don't understand logic. So that's why I use those three terms right there. There are a few more, but those are the strongest three that really gets to the point of now telling you what they're actually doing when they're not thinking, they're fantasizing, they're hallucinating, and they're romanticizing.
Yeah, and of course, all of the distractions of American society serve to further feed those fantasies, those hallucinations, and those romantic ideas.
Let me give you the best example today that came across the post. LeBron James' son, Bronny, takes who to the prom? Pale skin, a female. And guess who was helping to promote the photos on social media?
I don't know.
His mother.
Oh, okay.
Why? She from the project. LeBron James from the project. Oh, that's right. We got money.
Yeah.
Who is your son around all the time? White folks. What do you stay by white folks? What's everything that you do? White. Now you're trying to do what? Fit into the box of Eurocentric ideology, Eurocentric philosophy. You see? And so now you have a sister who is signing off on her son, selecting somebody that don't nearby look like her. And why? Because her desire is to be like her.
It's heavy. Yeah. Okay. All right. So in your quote, you go on to state the concepts of life and destruction and good and evil all start in the minds and spirits of individuals, end quote. So the question, how do we prevent the existence of the melanated Negro savage? How, and maybe even when, do we begin to implement the righteous concepts of life and destruction, good and evil, into the minds and spirits of individuals?
And that is answered in the next paragraph where I say enlightened prevention.
And that's my next question. What is enlightened prevention? So go ahead.
So enlightened prevention is now, those of us who are hybrid, doing the necessary work, the empowerment work that we have to do to now mobilize, organize, and activate grassroots Black folks and other hybrids so we can create the physical reality, create the take over land masses, create the physical prototype, so that now we bring forth an Afrocentric ideology by way through K through 12 learning institutions, by way of mental detoxification centers, which would serve as our spiritual and cultural institutes for learning, this is how we now maneuver so that we can pair sisters and brothers who now get on the enlightened path together in order to have children from an enlightened and empowered mindset. That's how you now start to incubate individuals and pair them together so that they can now produce phenomenal young children who now come up with the 6 pillars of empowerment on the right track. But it starts with us taking over land masses and spaces where we can create our own prototype. And that's why I when you gave examples some months ago on what's the religious group up in Utah, the Mormons.
The Mormons, yes, sir.
And I told you about the Church of Scientology. They're not apologizing for their game. They're quietly maneuvering, putting their learning institutions together, taking, look at the Mormons. They basically control the state of Utah.
Yes, sir.
You
Yes,
see,
sir.
you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so we have to work within the framework of the system, but you got to create your own prototype, your own structure, and now you make individuals conform to your overall get down. And they've done it in Utah with corporations. I'm not saying anything different than what they're doing in the Church of Scientology. The only difference is this is based on our spiritual and cultural foundation
That's right.
that's been stolen from us thousands of years ago.
Would you put the Amish in that group as well?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
But the goddamn Amish, and I love the case now. I remember I was on Facebook some years ago, and these Negro from the Nation of Islam was talking this foolishness. And I say, Negro, show me, you don't even have to show me a town that you control. Show me a community. Show me a nation of Islam community that you all control in the United States. We got, they go to the default thing. We got over 1,000 acres of land. Where's the town, goddammit? Because I can show you towns that have been developed in Texas since the goddamn 60s. Y'all been around since the 20s. So where is your town on the 1,000+ acres of land?
Right.
And you can't tell me you can't do it, because I used to live in the Atlanta metro in a little town called Clarkston. Clarkston is a town, guess how big it is? 1 mile by 1 mile.
Okay. Okay.
It sits between the boundary of Atlanta and Stone Mountain. 1 mile by 1 mile. That's a goddamn town.
All right.
So y'all got more land basically than goddamn Clarkston. Why have you not developed it? And so they come up with their own excuses, and it's a setup question. Because then I show their ass the Amish.
Is that what?
Then I show them the Amish.
Okay. So what kind of answers do they give you when you ask that question? Because it's a logical question.
Foolishness, man. Just, man, yeah. The white man ain't gonna. So when they say the white man ain't gonna let them to do, that's when I hit them with the goddamn Amish. Got their own land, okay? They set their own situation up. And when I had a chance to go to Baltimore multiple times with my ex-wife, who was in the tourism arena, they have this thing in Baltimore called the Lexington Market. And I'm talking about 99% Negro up in there. And you got all these vendors. To money, 99% of the vendors are white.
Right. Right.
So Negro from the Nation of Islam outside trying to sell his bean pie. But the goddamn Amish on the inside, and guess what they sell?
Bean pies.
Goddamn bean.
That is crazy, man. That is crazy. Wow.
They make furniture, they sell bean pies, and it's like, what is wrong with the Negro that the Negro, oh, that's right, pseudo-integration. The period that we're in, pseudo-integration, and that takes us back to that 1972 video with Reverend Clay
Yes, sir.
and all of those Negroes
Yep.
that he was going off on. And Amiri Baraka, oh, idealistic, romantic ass, hallucinating ass Negro, was up there with all of that foolishness. And that's why Reverend Clay put his punk ass in check.
Yeah.
And we have grown worse and worse since that point.
No doubt, no doubt. And of course, until we're able to implement things like enlightened prevention, we're going to have to confront the reality of these melanated Negro savages by any means necessary, right?
By any goddamn means necessary that's intelligently directed, as Malcolm, would say, because that's you. And notice what I say. Notice what I say. The concepts of life and destruction and good and evil all start in the minds and spirits of individuals. Unfortunately, no perceptively free individual can be legislatively forced to embrace spirituality and organic right culture. This is an irrefutable fact. And what I'm saying there to mine is when our people start talking about, all we gotta do is come together. We got to come together. We can't come together. Negro, you gotta have bonding agents.
That's right.
To bring you together. What bonding agent? Oh, you believe the bonding agent is melanin.
Psych.
Oh, but we look alike.
Yeah.
Oh, you ain't figured it out yet, Negro. The bonding agent for any ethnicity is their culture.
Yep.
For us, it's our spirituality and our culture.
That's right.
Why is it spirituality and separate from culture? Because when you talk about culture, culture produces this thing called religiosity. See, religion is a part of culture. Spirituality is different than religiosity.
That's right.
Spirituality is something that's already born in you. You just have to learn what it is and unlock, unleash, and activate it, which the majority of people never do, right? And so this is the dilemma, but in a society where people are perceptively free, you can't legislate them to become ethical and moral entities.
Yep. And that leads to the second to the last question. Can a militia be empowered to protect a specific population in a specific geographic location?
Hell yeah. It's the prototype to some degree was already set in place. And again, it wasn't the Panthers, it was the goddamn Deacons for Defense.
Okay.
The Deacons for Defense proved that you can actually do this. And they did this as an organized group of former military veterans who came together to protect their people and the SNCC workers during that summer. I think that was 1967, 68, something like that, where they were registering people to vote here in Louisiana, in Jonesboro, and in Bogalusa, Louisiana. So the answer is yes. So, but if you take over your land masses,
that's right.
What else do you already have?
Police,
sheriff, marshal.
Yep.
So you got two layers. You got the legal layer and you got the hidden layer.
That's right.
The legal layer and the hidden layer. You take over the city, you control the police department. You now mobilize, organize grassroots people to now position yourself in the counties and parishes that are takeable. Now you take control of what? The sheriff department and the coroner's department. Now you can be in control of the marshal's department. The marshals and the sheriff departments are always elected positions. The coroner's office is an elected position. Now you got that in control, and you got your hidden hand protecting the community and eliminating all threats internally and externally, foreign and domestic. And now, how do you ensure that our people ain't gonna get caught up? Now you take control of what? The DA. You take control of the DA.
Right.
You take control of some district judges. This is how the game is played.
Yeah.
We just never been out.
Yeah. So do you think, because we can only make those kinds of moves if we are the majority.
Exactly.
Do you think you will ever get to a point where you are when you have Shreveport rolling the way you envision it to roll? Do you think you will ever say to Black people nationally, y'all need to go ahead and come home south because what we're doing here you can't do there? Yeah.
That's the whole point. You got to create the prototype and then make the call out to remigrate back south.
That's right.
And if you don't come full throttle 365 days a year, at least come buy some land or send some of your goddamn relatives back. But you're damn near gonna be forced to come back one way or another. Naru up here playing games like he ain't gonna come back south, but Naru know he coming back south once again.
All right. On that note, our last question: you get one takeaway from the things we've discussed on tonight's show. So if you can only give everybody one takeaway from what we talked about tonight that they will have with them for the rest of their lives, what would that one takeaway be?
Enlightened prevention is the only solution to reducing, not eliminating, savage acts, regardless of whether they are internal savage acts or external savage acts, like what happened in Buffalo on this past weekend, what happened to Brother Desmond. That enlightened prevention.
Cool. Okay, 10 o'clock on the dot. We're gonna open this thing up for Q&A. So on that note, Brother Naru has turned his camera on. Brother Naru, question or comment for Brother Craig?
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Bro, you can talk all that come back down to South stuff.
Naru say you good.
Now that about buying some land and something down there, yeah. Louisiana, Monroe, where my people from. But bro. Hey, y'all got too much flooding and all that old type of stuff out there, bro. I can deal with these earthquakes. I've been dealing with them all my life. I can't deal with no tornadoes and hurricanes.
Man, we got flood, but you got fires, man.
Yeah, we got fire, but you see my mask, Tamani. I'm ready.
I seen your mask. Yeah, I seen your mask.
But now, okay, so on the real though, let me get to the question. So you speak about spirituality a lot. So I wanted to ask you this question. Can you speak to any of our people in the past or the present who you believe are on the correct spiritual path or journey that we might know, some of our more outstanding folks, or do you think all of them are kind of just on the wayward path?
I think Malcolm was headed in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
I think Garvey may have been headed in that direction. I definitely believe that George Washington Carver was on the spiritual path in order for him to do the things that he was doing. I think Paul Cuff was headed in that direction. But in terms of an entity who we could point to nationally or internationally that really had this stuff figured out, I would be hard pressed to to see that, because Naru, it's real hard to shake this religiosity, bro.
Yeah,
It's
I
real
agree.
hard.
I agree.
Real hard to shake that. And if you start to generate some money and you start to see some positive things happening in your life, and you're still rolling with the religion, it's damn near impossible. And you know, Naru, it's a very good question that you asked. And you know, I don't know, I think we discussed it a year or 2 years ago when I was bringing up Malcolm, similar to this question. And Tamani didn't know that Malcolm has had 2 organizations that he was starting because he was figuring it out. Dude, you're not going to sell grassroots Black folks, hybrid Black people, and for damn sure no Negro on no goddamn Islam. Okay, so he figured it out. He's like, okay, we're gonna do Islam, do Muslim Mosque Incorporated, and we're gonna do the OAAU for just grassroots things. So he was still believing that the religiosity of Islam was the way because it impacted him.
Exactly.
But see, Malcolm had not done enough introspection of himself, because if Malcolm had really thought about this, Naru, and trust me, I have analyzed this from front, up, down, left, and right, and it angered a Negro who actually used to be in the nation, but he went back into Christianity. But he got mad when I said this. I said, if Malcolm had really thought about it, I mean, really, really thought about it, he gave so much goddamn credit to Elijah Muhammad. It was sickening. Because he was already born into this greatness through his lineage with his father. Okay? And he was already on the path before his father was taken from him. So he detoured and went into the whole savage conduct after, you know, wanting to see the glitz and glamour of Boston and all of that. So when he gets back on track, he attributes that to Islam and through his brothers, Reginald and Filbert. And so he went through this whole deal, but he finally figured out, I got to leave that religion thing over here, and I got to work just on the mobilization, organization, and activation of that. And he never understood that it could all be under one umbrella with the 6 pillars of empowerment, but you can't, you got to leave the religiosity alone. If you really are going to establish an ethical and moral compass for the people, because other than that, they're not rolling with Islam, bro. Most Negroes ain't gonna stop eating no goddamn pork.
Okay, can you explain more about what you mean when you say a direct connection to the Creator? I heard you say that earlier in the program, and I wanted to get some more clarification about what you meant about that.
So I let people know spirituality is not something that you pay for. Spirituality is not something that you find at Walmart or on Amazon, or you're not gonna find it with goddamn TD Jakes, Creflo Dollar. You're not gonna even find it with Malcolm or Martin or Reverend Ike. It is already born in you. For those entities who are not predisposed to evil, spirituality is already born in you.
Wait a minute. Are you saying spirituality is not in everybody? You saying it's not in some people? Oh,
no,
I can't.
And I know we talked.
I can't agree with that, bro. I can't agree with that one. Everybody's got a chance now. Come on, bro. I can't agree with that one.
No, I know. Remember, we talked about this the other week.
No, we did.
And I love the fact that in 1995, my former business partner, Israel Shadeo, told me, Brother Craig, if you want to get to know the Creator, study nature. And all I'm gonna say to you, Naru, is if you study nature, the answer is right there, because there are snakes that are predisposed to being poisonous. There are some snakes that are not predisposed to being poisonous. And one could say, well, Craig, the poison doesn't impact them. Well, evil don't impact evil people. Evil impacts everybody else.
I wouldn't agree with that either, Craig, because I believe that when you do evil deeds, there are repercussions to those, whether it's internal or external. And when you're talking about snakes, that's not a great analogy, because that's just how they were born, and that's their protection. It's not anything evil. They're not going out just biting people for the hell of it. They'll do that as a protection, as we will protect ourselves as needed.
The poison is not for their protection, because if that was the case, then just think about this logically. All snakes would be poisonous.
No, some are constrictors. They don't need poison. That's not.
Yeah,
it's
a defense mechanism. And one snake's defense mechanism is not another snake's defense.
Yeah. So I won't.
It doesn't make the snake evil. It just
no. It don't. That's what I'm saying. It don't make it evil. So that's not a good analogy. I can't ride with that.
Y'all, see, if you listen,
I am listening. I'm listening.
No, you're not. I'm showing you that some things are predisposed to a particular way versus others. No, I'm not talking about a snake being evil. I'm simply using poison because poison is bad for us if we're bit by a poisonous snake.
Correct.
But there's some snakes that are not poisonous. But guess what? Most people are paranoid by all snakes.
True.
So there are things in this world, plants, snakes, different animals that are poisonous. They're predisposed. The Creator made them that way. Now, you can believe, if you want to, that every human is created good. You can believe that. I know that that's not the case.
I never said that. I don't believe anyone's all good or all evil. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I believe we have choices. We were made human beings to have free will, free choices. So we can choose to do good or we can choose to do bad. I don't agree that someone comes here and they just a little child comes up. It's by their environment and things that they learn. I don't believe that at all, Craig. I
got you. And this is why, again, this is why we're going to always get tricked as African descendants, because we don't want to deal with this certain reality that exists. But that's copacetic. I'm just letting you know, from the standpoint of my assessment, observation, and research over these years, there are certain entities who are predisposed to being evil. The majority of people are not. The majority of people come into evil through their indoctrination, but there are certain entities who are predisposed, just like you can be predisposed to being bipolar, just like you can be predisposed to being schizophrenic, just like you can be predisposed to having high blood pressure, just like you can be predisposed to having diabetes. It's the same concept. And it's unfortunate that our folks don't understand that the Creator often maneuvers in this particular realm. But I mean, that's copacetic. But my point is, spirituality is born in some of those, and it has to be unlocked, unleashed, and activated. And now, if folks want to really roll with the premise, because I guess you would basically say that the white boy had the possibility of being spiritual, and he was just, his parents just kind of messed him up or, you know, David Duke has the ability to be spiritual, or Stalin or Hitler. I don't believe that.
Well, Brother Craig, you just spoke on Malcolm X, and we know the type of lifestyle he lived before it was religion, but maybe you would call it religiosity, but to him, it was a spiritual awakening. He was able to transform his life, and he was pimping and selling drugs and all of that. So that's what I'm trying to say. I don't know if anyone is specifically born that way.
You didn't listen. That wasn't Malcolm's life initially. Malcolm was born into a construct of revolution. That was his life. It wasn't the pimping thing didn't come until he gets to Boston and he gets sidetracked because his foundation got fractured.
And he made a choice, right? He made a choice to do that. No one made him do any of those things. Chose to do that, correct? Wait, no, is that correct or not? Did he choose to do that?
No, I'm gonna break down choice for you so you can understand. He didn't make a choice. He was indoctrinated by his brothers, Reginald and Filbert. He looked at this as a way to get out of jail. He looked at it.
I'm talking about the crime, the crimes he did. He made a choice to do those things, not the getting out of jail part. I would agree with you on that. But didn't he make a choice? You said he came from a revolutionary family, and then he made a choice to do crime. He wasn't born doing that, though.
Not real. I don't know if you were on the call before when I did the distinction between choice and predetermined selection.
Yes, I did, and I don't always agree with all of that part, but I do understand what you're saying.
But it's no problem. Mm-hmm. You can believe, because I've proven, I've shown how I can manipulate people into making predetermined selection. Okay, I've shown that. I've proven that over 25 years. You can disagree.
No, I'm not saying you can't, but not everyone. You can't make everyone do it.
Not rude. Everybody. If you don't have control of your mind,
there you go.
Can be forced into predetermined selections.
You just hit on it right there. If you don't have control of your mind. Exactly.
99.5% of people don't have control of their mind.
I won't disagree. And I won't even disagree. Might be a little higher than that.
99.5% of people do not have control of their mind. They don't, not really. It's just a fact. And so we can play this game like people have free. Naru, you have to fight to earn free will.
Yes,
You're not born with free will. You're born with the potential of activating free will. You're not born with it. You have to fight to get it because you have to free your mind in order to get it, in order to learn how to think. So you can't make choices if you don't know how to think. And the majority of people do not know how to think. They hallucinate, they fantasize, and they romanticize. Naru, if people thought, you really want me to believe that Negroes are thinking when they are spending 97.5% of their money with everybody who hates them?
I don't believe that's thinking. I totally agree with you on that. That's why I go out of my way to spend my money where I spend my money. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm not trying to argue that most people are asleep, Craig. I'm just trying to say that I do believe that everybody comes into this world with a chance. And if from my spirituality, from what I believe, from the creator I believe in, I don't believe that he creates or she creates or they create evil people. I just don't. First of all, I don't see a reason to do that. And second of all, it wouldn't be a loving thing to do that. And I just don't see why that would be. Now I do believe we do have choices, even if they're predisposed, there are still choices that you have to make in that predisposed position. And Brother Craig, you've had to make choices in your life. We all have to make choices. So I'm gonna leave because I see Brother Mike want to get in here. I'm taking up all the time, but
I only learned how to make choices as I grew to gain control of my mind. And I can tell you right now, I was already predisposed based on my genealogical connection. I'm sorry that you don't kind of see it, but Naru, every person is not born with the same genetic and epigenetic makeup. And when you say things like you don't believe that people are born evil, then you would have to now tell me how then, explain then people like Adolf Hitler, explain then, so you can't keep on maneuvering with the fact that everybody has been indoctrinated to be evil. Well, I mean, this shit had to start from somewhere.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I just don't feel like you come out of the womb evil. I'm never going to believe that. I mean, no matter what, you say, that just doesn't make sense because I'm around children all the time. But I'm gonna let Brother Mike get in here.
Yeah, let's move to the next question because we're going to the loop.
Okay.
Thank you, Brother Naru, Brother Craig. I appreciate it. Brother Mike, you got a question? I didn't see your hand was up.
Well, you know what? Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. First of all, I'm not gonna touch that right there. I ain't gonna do it to myself. But what I will, it helps me. And now, that's that. We need 3 or 4, 5, 6 forms on that. But my thing is, we know what reminds me exactly what both brothers are saying. I watch The Matrix every so often to remind me, and I can't explain it, but The Matrix 1, 2, and 3, and 4 is the closest to what the combination between predetermined choice, free will. I watch it and I'm like, okay, but the scary part about it is really practicing and actualizing it and really practicing thinking. See, we were never taught. We were taught to rote memory, memorization, but not how to critically analyze anything.
Exactly.
And Xavier did what they could, but I didn't start doing that, man, until I came out. Well, we want to say out the womb, but out of college and experience this thing called life. That's where it's coming from. Connecting with you brothers and sisters on Thursdays, and there's some other ones, but a lot of us are not doing this. Having a honest dialogue that ain't associated with that vanilla person. So I just want to comment. I love the debate because I've debated, folks about, even in the religious standpoint, when I was in the seminary, St. Augustine, St. Thomas Aquinas, do we really have free will or predetermined selection? So I was just making a comment, brother. Thank you.
Hey, that's one of the biggest things, and that's why I'm pushing back on Naru, because, brother, these are concepts that white folks have tried to comprehend, and they don't even comprehend them. Like he's talking about St. Thomas Aquinas, Socrates, about this whole illusion of free will, brother. You don't have free will when you're born into this world, because you're already indoctrinated by whoever you're born into, that bloodline, the maternal and the paternal, because you're not born by yourself. You're born with millions of people already inside of you. And so sometimes when you bring people together, they have fractured genetics. That's just a reality. I mean, we can look at it any different type of way, but when we look at the debates that individuals like, of course, we don't know about the African philosophers that schooled Socrates and Plato and St. Thomas Aquinas ends up learning, but they would have these discussions. We really don't have these discussions. So what happens, we formulate belief. And yet again, somebody now offers up a different perspective, and we push back because we really haven't really thought about it. And it really does bother somebody to know that the Creator will predispose a child to be a particular way. It's just the reality. The Creator has that control. But this is the world that we're in, and you have to learn how to make choices. You have to learn how to, most people believe that the choice is the decision. And those are two different things. The choice is the intellectual exercise of weighing, evaluating pros and cons in order to arrive at a decision. See? So if you don't know how to...
I think we should seriously think about what Brother Mike just said, and maybe have this as a topic, because we're not going to discuss it we're not going to finish it at this time. So I think we really need to dive into it seriously. Go ahead.
It's not about finishing it. The reason that this is important as it relates to the topic, the Negro, all of these people believe that they are free.
Sure.
They're believing that they're making choices.
Yep.
But they've been indoctrinated to doing everything that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Which goes back to the rat experiment that we discussed some shows back.
That's right.
But they believe that they're making choices. They believe that they have free will. See? And so if those people were not on the evil tip, so you say, well, okay, if these individuals were not predisposed to evil, how do you just go kill somebody like that? You say, okay, well, hip hop, toxic video games, all this stuff. All right. I can look at the same things that they look at, listen to the same music, and it doesn't impact me. How? Why? This is what we're wrestling with when we deal with these subjects. And unfortunately, what I see with our people, we just really don't have the appetite of understanding what's going to have to be done to some of our folks, because we're constantly wanting to give the domestic terrorists preferential treatment, and it's coming back to haunt us every single day in this universe.
I don't know if I don't necessarily believe that a person like Nauru, what I know about the brother, I don't think his not believing people are born evil means that he doesn't understand people have to be dealt with. I think that's a leap.
Oh no, I definitely know that people have to be dealt with, and
right.
I would talk to you about that in person.
Sure. But, yeah. I'm saying just because a person doesn't believe that people are born evil.
No.
Realize.
Just because I don't believe they was born evil don't mean that there isn't evil existing, and you can't get to a point where you just can't come back, or you're a threat. No, sure. I totally get that, and right. I would never argue that point. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah. Tara just asked, would Cain and Abel be a good example?
She asked where.
I sent it directly to Craig. Yeah, as I was listening to the debate, the proof, just stemming from, some of the stories, that have been passed down from generation to generation through religiosity. I'm reminded of the Cain and Abel story. One brother was predetermined to murder the other brother out of jealousy. So the spirituality of Abel was very, very different, than in Cain. Cain didn't have what Abel had as far as spirituality. So, you know, and I've been around a lot of kids, and I know for a fact some of them kids are just, you know, just not here to bring anything good to themselves, their families, or the community. So I just wanted to bring that up, and I wanted to ask Craig, you know, sometimes we reference the Bible in a certain sense, just to give an example. So would that be an example?
I mean, that's a very good example that you just gave, and a very good point. But, you know, again, people really have an issue looking at humans like you would look at animals being predisposed a certain way, plants being predisposed a certain way. I don't see how you can't make the connection, because that's how you actually study the essence of the Creator. So yeah, the Cain and Abel story would be a great example of that. A very good example. Yeah.
So Craig, can animals be evil as well, or is it just a human thing for you?
Only humans, because animals don't have rational thought. Animals are already programmed to do what they do. Hence why when my business partner told me this in 1995, if you want to get to know the Creator, study nature. See, nature does not betray the Creator because they're programmed to do what they're doing. We're the only entities who perceptively are able to reason, rationalize, and whatnot. We're supposedly. So plants, insects, animals, they're already predisposed to do what they do. So no, they can't be evil. They just do what the hell they do. So when what's the white boys out there in Las Vegas who train the goddamn tigers, when the goddamn tiger bit his goddamn head off, after he stuck his goddamn head in the tiger's mouth, they tried to say the damn tiger was evil. Goddamn tiger just being tiger. You know, but they believed that they had domesticated him and changed his goddamn nature around. And somewhere, one of them damn ancestral tigers, the spirit, they bite his goddamn head.
All right, now, we got to close it out. I got to go to the story. Any other questions or comments?
No, but we'll have more debate on this again in the show.
Yeah, like I said, we're gonna have to revisit it. Any other questions or comments for Brother Craig? I got to go to the store before 11 o'clock. Any other questions or comments for Brother Craig before we close it out? Going once, going twice. Okay, Craig, closing comments. Or was that
it? It's always good. And look, I love the fact that Naru pushes, because it does nothing but help me get sharper and find more fine-tuned. I love the example that Dr. Jones gave. But as always, man, I appreciate it. One of my classmates said today, because you're right, Tamani, I do send a lot of people these different articles. And she said, Craig, I just got to tell you, and Naru kind of said this a few weeks ago. He said, God damn, Craig, do you ever send positive articles? And I send positive articles too, but I'm doing so much case analysis because I'm a zoologist, right? And so being a zoologist, I want people to really understand what we're up against in the overall mix. But she said, Craig, just send me some positive stuff. Don't send me all your goddamn case analysis, because I'm trying to stay in a nice, positive space. But I just challenge our people to get up, understand that enlightened prevention is the only solution. So when these people talk about the economy, jobs, secondary education, great colleges, and all of these things, guess what? Murder and mayhem still happen in all of those so-called places.
That's right. So on that note, as Brother Craig said, we thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you taking the time out. Hopefully you'll be with us next Thursday as well when we do another show. And remember that no one can do everything, but if everyone does something, everything will get done. And absolutely, always remember that nothing is more sacred than the empowerment and freedom of Black people. Because if Black people aren't empowered and free, because we're also Black, we're not going to be empowered and free. So on that note, thank you guys again. We'll see you next week. Take care. God bless.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you.